The in-season tournament schedule has been announced, and we'll tell you why Miami might actually be able to get out of the group stage this year. Plus, we continue our top 25 players for the last 25 years with a heavily tattooed fan favorite on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat, whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day for daily content on the Heat. Join more than 17,000 everydayers and click that subscribe button on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. Have a great show for you today. We are revealing the 24th greatest Heat player over the last 25 years in a minute. But let's start with the latest schedule news. The NBA on Wednesday announced the groupings for the in-season tournament, and the Heat are in a group with the New York Knicks, Milwaukee Bucks, Chicago Bulls, and Charlotte Hornets. Now, David, the Heat have not advanced out of the group stage portion of the in-season tournament for the first 2 years that this thing has existed. What do you think about their chances now based on their group?
Every year I convince myself that this tournament seems perfect for a team like Miami, that always seems to gear for past moments, etc. But then it always seems like something derails this team, whether it's just the fact that Jimmy Butler honestly didn't care 2 seasons ago, and that last year, amidst the drama of what was happening with Jimmy, it wasn't really something that was important for most of the team. And so I'm going to flip the script and say, you know what? They have no chance of possibly surviving this, because I'm
great
just
strategy.
I'm going to just say they don't care. They're not built for this. This is not a big deal. So why bother pretending that it is?
Yeah, the in-season tournament's for teams that take pride in their night-to-night performance, right. Not a team like the Miami Heat.
Exactly. Toughest, most well-conditioned, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. Save that for somebody.
We're giving them the bulletin board material. This is good. This is good.
Yeah.
That's great. Look, that's my 2023 final strategy, right? I just pick against them every round, and they used me as motivation. I like to think I had something to do with it. Sure. You look at the group that they're in. The Knicks, I think, they're going to be one of the top 2 seeds in the East. They could very well be the number 1 seed in the. They're going to be good. They're, whatever you want to make of the Knicks postseason, whether or not they can make it to the finals, whatever. They are going to be a regular season juggernaut. That's what's going to happen there with them. Even with Milwaukee, I know that they've been kind of criticized by buying out Damian Lillard, waving and stretching him. Why would they do that? They're acting out of desperation, all these things. I get it. They still got Giannis, dude.
Yeah.
Like, they still got Giannis. Make whatever you want out of Doc Rivers and his postseason shortcomings, and there's plenty to talk about there. That guy's also a regular season wins machine. Doc Rivers teams don't tend to lose or very many regular season games. Those teams tend to kind of hover around 50 wins. And the Bucks, by the way, have had a lot of success in the in-season tournament in the past. So they're a team that have approached the in-season tournament with a certain amount of motivation or whatever it is that it takes to win this thing or be competing for it. And then you got Chicago and Charlotte. So I think the Heat should definitely win their games against Charlotte, and they should definitely win their games against Chicago. The problem with the Heat in the past is they always lose one of these games. They drop one of the games. So the way that the NBA Cup groups are put together is it's by record, right? And so you're always going to get a couple of teams near the bottom of the standings in your group, and yet the Heat always find a way to drop one of those games. And that is the thing that tends to just, it's a very small sample. You got to win these games, right? And that tends to be what brings Miami down in these things.
Absolutely. It's always tough to predict because Miami does, on paper, however you want to say it, I would say looking at the group, I would think Miami's actually the second best team in that group to the Knicks. I think they're better on paper for what it's worth against a Bucks team led by Giannis, because the rest of that team, aside from Miles Turner, not particularly great. Now, obviously Giannis still a very, very good player.
Giannis, yeah.
yeah, but the rest of that team, I still think is
No depth.
worse in comparison, than Miami.
Miami can win this. Can win those games with their second line. You know what I mean? Like as long as their bench outplays Milwaukee's bench, they're going to be in those games.
And you hope that Bam continues his hatred of Turner. Like maybe that might be enough.
Ooh.
That might be the X factor there.
That's a good wrinkle. Look, in Miami, nobody stops Giannis. Miami defends Giannis as well as anybody. And now with Kel'el Ware and Bam there to form that wall, that should be helpful. I'm with you. I think Miami could definitely come in, and you don't have to win the group. You can come in second and still make the in-season tournament. And by the way, your net points scored across all these games also matter. That's what brought Miami down the first year of this stupid thing.
Yes.
And look, I don't know at the end of the day how much people actually care, but the wins still count towards the record, and it would be nice for the Heat to actually care about something in the regular season for once, because it just makes it more fun. And this is not the team with the playoff Jimmy Carrot hanging out in front of them. They got to make the most out of these things.
I like that as motivation, and two, we talked about recently with the Miami's offense just has to shift to kind of a run and gun style of play, given the shooting on this team and what they're able to put together offensively. Manufacturing points has been such a challenge for this group over the last few regular seasons. I wonder if we see that kind of again change dramatically this season, and if that's the case, maybe it won't be the kind of impediment that it's been in the years past, where they wind up barely scoring enough points and not even winning necessarily the games that they even have to for as far as the tournament is concerned. Because I mean, you'd like them to just have a couple of games where they easily roll into 120, 130 points. It seems like it should be doable for this group. And it just has been such a challenge in years past. And maybe that might give them the extra edge they need if they're not able to win these games directly. But, again, I think the Hornets should be an easy mark.
Yep.
The Bulls are one of those teams that's so tricky. I mean, Miami beat by them a couple times late in the regular season last year, and then, of course, wind up beating them pretty easily in the play-in tournament. So you wonder whether or not, again, it has to do with how motivated Miami is in this in-season tournament.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, I look, despite what I said earlier, I hate to say it, but I think this team.
I know.
Okay.
Go ahead. No, they are going to be out to prove something. I know what you wanted to say, but I want you to keep keep that energy. You got to keep that energy. That's the only way it works. They are in, I would say, the second. So there's 3 groups in each conference, because the NBA loves to make things complicated. It would have been way too easy to just make them by divisions or something. We have 4 divisions per conference, but 3 groups for the in-season tournament per conference. Whatever. They are in, I would say, the middle group in terms of difficulty. There's the group of death, I would deem Group B. That's the Celtics, Pistons, Magic, Nets, and 76ers. Of those teams, only the Nets are a walkover. The 76ers could be anything. They could be a walkover or very good, depending on who's available for them. Orlando and Detroit might win 50 games this year in the Eastern Conference. Who knows what to make of Boston, but they'll be, feisty. They're not going to be great, but they'll be feisty. And then Group A, you've got the Cavaliers headlining that group, but beyond them, the Hawks, they'll be pretty good. The Pacers, I still think they're going to be good without Halliburton. They're not going to make the finals, but I think they'll be over 500. The Raptors can kind of go either way. They're sort of an in-season or a play-in tournament-ish kind of team, and the Wizards are a walkover as well. So of those groups, I think Miami's sort of like in the middle. Not as hard as Group B, maybe not as easy as Group A.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's right about the middle. And again, it all depends on how this team takes these games. Like, I mean, one thing is to recognize that they're regular season games and you want to win as many of them as possible. But there has to be the additional motivation of, I don't know, because every year, I know you seem a little disinterested in this, but I think every year we kind of forget that with the added factor that there is a little bit more value to these games, and you wind up getting a little bit more excited to see them play out. I know that's how it's been for me in the past, and I think for you as well. I wonder if this team takes that and uses it as motivation.
I hope they do. I hope the whole time of, the regular season doesn't matter, the Heat proved the regular season. I hated that.
Yeah, I know.
Because if the regular season doesn't matter, then what are we even doing for, from October to April? Yeah. Like, it just sort of ruins the sport. And I want to watch a team on a daily basis that actually gives a bleep about this stuff. And so If only they compete for the love of the game, I'm here for it, man. Like, just I don't really like the in-season tournament. I think it's pretty silly, but I'm not the one out there playing for an NBA team. You know what I mean? Like, have some pride in whatever it is that this thing is, I guess. We reveal the 24th greatest Heat player of the last 25 years next.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Maybe you can take a chance on who might win MVP, or you can crown your champion in August. I don't know who's winning the Super Bowl, but any guess is as good as any right now, and that's the whole point. You can win big by taking a guess. This is your chance. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. This is our 25 of 25 series, looking back at the top 25 Heat players of the last 25 seasons. Each episode will be taking an in-depth look at every player who made the list, as voted on by us and our Locked On Heat insider community, through the lens of what made them a definitive part of the franchise's history. Last episode, we talked about Max Strus at number 25. Now, coming in at 24, you know him as Birdman. It's Chris Andersen.
Heck of a player, strange career, and yet it seemed like he fit in with Miami so perfectly, and just was able to contribute to a championship team. So I think that's why he probably rates as highly as he does in the view of so many Heat fans. His professional career started very strangely. He missed the opportunity to actually apply for the NBA draft, kind of as if nobody told him it was something that needed to happen. And so he was just like, oh, well, I got to drop out of school because I can't do that anymore. And then he winds up playing internationally in China before joining something called the International Basketball League. And from there, he goes on to the D-League and ultimately the Denver Nuggets. He joined that team in 2001 for 3 seasons, and then played with the New Orleans Hornets for 3 seasons before rejoining the Nuggets for another 4 seasons after that. But Andersen was kind of buried on the depth chart in that Denver group behind Kenneth the Manimal Fareed, that's a name from the past, JaVale McGee, 2016 free agency legend Timothy Mozgov, and Costa Koufos. So somehow they had Andersen on the roster, and he was playing behind all these guys. So he was really kind of in a numbers crunch there. And eventually he was waived by the Nuggets in July 2013 by what was ostensibly for financial reasons, but it was also due to dubious circumstances, as he was being investigated for, I hate to say it, child pornography charges that were eventually revoked, and it was turned out to be a complete hoax by a Canadian woman, and it was just totally disproved. But there was this heavy stink, and I remember that it was almost like he was suspended, and I thought it was for drugs at one point, because he had been previously suspended for drugs, but then it turned out it was this pornography charge, and it was just like nobody wanted to have anything to do with him. So he was waived in 2013, and then he was eventually signed by the team later on.
With the amnesty clause, right?
Yes, he was waived by that, yes. And so nobody really wanted to take a chance on him, because everybody thought he kind of really was, damaged goods. But eventually the Heat signed him to a day contract in January 2013. Sorry, he was waived in July 2012, and then he was picked up after 6 months by the Heat in 2013. He said at the time, "There's been an investigation, and I've cooperated fully with the authorities in Denver. I am not the target of the investigation. No arrests have been made, and no charges have been filed against me. I'm grateful for this opportunity that the Miami Heat has given me." Spoelstra, at the time, did not address Andersen's off-court questions specifically, though insisted that Miami has no qualms about bringing him into the mix. "We've done enough research on him, and we feel he fits in very well," Spoelstra said. So he was signed to a full contract for the remainder of the season after that 10-day expired, and then he signed as a free agent after winning a championship in 2013, and then again in 2014 after LeBron James left to join the Cleveland Cavaliers. That deal was for 2 years and nearly $11 million, a bit of an overpay, but perhaps a reward for Andersen's loyalty after LeBron's departure. And after playing in 60 games in 2015, he appeared in just 7 games the next season, and he was dealt at the trade deadline in February to the Memphis Grizzlies.
Just an absolutely, like you mentioned, just a strange. First of all, it took him forever to get into the NBA. It's a borderline miracle that he ever played a minute in the NBA. And I mean that.
Yes.
Like that does not happen. He was, I believe he was the first D-League player to get called up to the NBA.
I don't know. I didn't read that in my research, but I think
I saw it.
rings true. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I saw it this morning. So I just saw it at one source. So I don't like
First D-League player that got called up. Wow, that's impressive.
So it's pretty wild what his career was, and then obviously what he meant to Miami. I mean, he became a huge part of that Big Three era team, right? He was the guy behind Chris Bosh. He filled a major need for them. There's that story out there that Eric Spoelstra desperately wanted Chris Andersen even before he was waived by Denver, because he just looked at this guy who was in a dunk contest before, can run up and down the court. He wasn't the biggest center, and back then, a lot of the centers didn't look like Chris Andersen. You see more of those kinds of guys now, like those sort of lengthy, high flying type of vertical threats. A lot of teams didn't want those kinds of centers back then, right? You wanted the more burly, rebounding type. And with Chris Andersen,
Eric Dampier. Eric Dampier was
a great example, right?
2 years before that, yeah.
But I think Eric Spoelstra looked at Birdman and said, no, that's a guy who could be part of our flying death machine here. That's a guy who can run the court with Dwayne Wade and LeBron James and catch lobs. And he had that huge wingspan. I mean, he was like Calvin Johnson catch radius. Like everything you threw up to that guy, he caught it and brought it home. So I know you've got some trivia ready.
I do. Are you ready for that now?
Oh, wait. I forgot. We had to do the ratings. So he comes in at 24 aggregate in our top 25 here. The highest that he was rated by a voter was 16. The lowest was not ranked at all. So like Max Strus before, a pretty wide range here for Chris Andersen.
Guilty as charged.
You had him not ranked. I had him at 18.
Okay. Now, you're going to have to explain the high ranking to me, because we were talking about this following yesterday's show, and again, I was I was out on Max Strus as well, and it was interesting how, even as we were putting together this list, like the top of the list seems a lot easier to put together. It's the bottom of the list where it's really just a matter of opinion, and it kind of, you have to have your own personal feeling. Yeah, exactly. A matter
or
of taste.
what matters to you, right? Like even yesterday, I had Max Strus in there because he had playoff moments. You thought Michael Beasley should have been ahead of Strus.
Right.
But he never had a playoff moment. Obviously, the playoff moments matter to me more than they matter to you. So to your point, there's probably 10 to 15 guys who I considered for these bottom 5 spots.
Yeah.
And you can argue it one way or the other, and I would have no problem with it. If I didn't have Beasley ranked, I don't mind that you did, right? Like there's a really solid case to be made that Michael Beasley is one of the top 25 players the last 25 years. I had Chris Andersen in there because he was, to me, just a major cog, a very impactful piece. Even if it wasn't a high minutes piece, his impact when he was on the court was big for the greatest team we've ever seen in Miami. And that just matters to me.
Yeah, I kind of debate that. Like I love that he was brought on board, and it's tough to separate him from what that group was. Like he joined the team, and then it kind of just felt like almost immediately afterwards, Shane Battier is giving that Super Bowl day speech, and they wound up winning 27 straight games. So how much of that is Chris Andersen joining the team, or how much of that is, oh, you know what, we kind of have to put our pedal to the metal and actually just remind everybody that we're the best team in the league? And so I don't know how much Chris actually contributed to that. But he was fun. He was tattooed. He was mohawked. He was a great part of perhaps one of the greatest locker rooms ever, and a group of veterans and young players, and a combination of odd personalities that all seem to fit very well together. And just, I don't know, he was a great part of a great team.
I would give him a lot of credit for jolting that team. It felt like at that point, they have been together at that point for 2.5 years. And we talked about this when Kevin Love came over, how that was just a jolt to the locker room. And Chris Andersen had a very similar impact to that locker room. It was just like, yep, we actually needed this guy here. But yeah, I mean, I think the, I mean, I know you didn't have him ranked, but do you have a problem with him being in the top 20? Do you think he has no business being in this?
No, I had him 28th, I think, on my list overall. So it's not. He was 29th, actually. Sorry, I had Max up 28th, Andersen 29th. Again, close. I recognize that he was part of something special, and I know that he did play a good part in that. It just wasn't so significant enough for me to kind of outweigh that over other guys that were, I think, more productive and maybe even had longer stints with the team than he did. But, I appreciate that he was part of that group. He was so fun with, that was just a great team, a lot of fun. It was also fun for him to re-sign in 2014. I remember at the time going, oh, what? We get Chris Bosh and Chris Andersen. This is great. It's going to be exciting. It all seems to work out so perfectly despite LeBron's departure. So to me, it was great for him on the team. And I was actually kind of bummed out that they wound up trading him. Although at the time, I remember thinking that he was just not going to play much again. And he wound up not being much of a player for the rest of his career.
We'll get to trivia next, plus Chris Andersen's sliding doors moment that could have changed the way we remember that 2013 Miami Heat team. It's all coming up next. All right, let's jump into trivia.
All right, let's do this. I've got a couple of questions here, I guess, going in ascending order of difficulty. Number one, when the Heat signed Andersen in 2013, where did the Heat rank league-wide in terms of offensive rebounding?
That's the easy question?
That's the easy question, yeah.
So it's got to be last.
Bingo.
Okay.
They were dead last.
That's a crazy question. All right, that's the easy one. Let's get to the next one. That's crazy.
Yeah, okay. What was the last stop in Andersen's NBA career?
I have no idea. Memphis.
That was close. No, but he actually wound up signing in 2016 after the Cavaliers won their championship. He wound up joining the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he played with LeBron again before he was traded.
But didn't get a ring in Cleveland.
They did not. He was only there for a short while. He was injured, and then he was traded to the Charlotte Hornets and then waived immediately. Never played for the Hornets. So the Hornets technically are the right answer. The third trivia question. In Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals versus the Indiana Pacers in 2013, Andersen set a franchise record. What was it?
I actually think I know this.
All right, go for it.
Did he go 6 for 6?
Was
that it?
Close.
In like a certain amount of minutes? He broke like an Alonzo Mourning record, wasn't it?
Oh, you get bonus points for that one because you do remember that. Most consecutive field goals in a playoff game without a miss. Going 7 for 7 and beating Alonzo Mourning's previous record of 6 for 6.
Am I getting points for that?
Yeah, absolutely. You got
cool.
0.75 of points there. And then fourth and final here. This one you'll never get, and I think this is totally unfair of me, but I threw it in there anyway. Chris Andersen played for a small junior college. I won't even bother giving you the name of that one. It's Blinn College. Yeah. Blinn, how did you know that? Oh, you looked it up today?
Is the only guy to ever come from Blinn. It was just a part of it. Was part of him. Oh, no? Who's the other one?
In Brenham, Texas, how many NBA players have played for Blinn?
How many? You're just giving... Okay, 2.
2, yes.
You should.
Oliver Lafayette, a 6'2" guard who played in one game for the Boston Celtics and scored 7 points in 22 minutes.
When was that?
Not that long ago. Actually, a couple seasons after Andersen joined the team. So,
what was the name?
Oliver Lafayette.
Oliver Lafayette. Thinking about the Hamilton play. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give myself the 2 points. You have 1 point as we're keeping track of trivia here. Wow. Let's jump into our categories. The first one, the sliding doors moment. What is a moment, a what-if moment in this player's Heat tenure that could have changed the way we thought about him, rightly, wrongly, better, or for worse? Let me give you the one I have here. What if they had signed him in the summer? Now, obviously, that would have required him getting cleared of some of those investigations and feeling good about it and all that stuff. But he got waived in July.
Yeah.
They didn't sign him until January. Then they go on that 27-game win streak. The Heat won 66 games that year.
Yeah.
And we also know that Spo wanted Pat Riley to trade for Chris Andersen prior to him getting waived. So maybe we were even talking about a year before. But, then you're getting into his salary and could they have afforded Ray Allen when they did and all that stuff. So instead of whether or not they traded for him, what if they just signed him over the summer? Could they have actually won 70 games in that 2012, 2013? Just 4 more games. Had they, because they didn't get him until mid-January.
Yeah, mid-January.
So if they had, what if they had signed him over the summer? They have him for the full year. Could they have won 70 games or even more than that? And if they did, we would be remembering that Heat team in a much different way. We would be having a conversation about that 2012-2013 Heat team as one of the greatest teams of all time.
Oh no.
And they're not in that conversation right now.
No, that's unfair. I mean, you look at the past Hornets team, they won 66 games, and I thought they were really, really good. I'm sorry, that past Cavaliers team, the 66 wins there. And you look at that Heat team, I don't know. They were still really good. Coming off their championship, a full team there with Ray Allen. So they had a spark over the offseason. They had added Rashard Lewis to that offseason. So they were kind of retooled for another championship run. And they were still
that year or the next year?
No, it was 23. It was added, 2012 going.
And then he ended up playing more
seasons.
in the. Okay, yeah, you're right.
So yeah, Ray, Rashard, etc. They joined that group in 2012 following the win.
But they didn't have anybody playing backup 5. Like that would have filled a major need for them earlier on in the
I think
season.
they traded Joel Anthony too that year, didn't they? So that was another blow to the team. It was kind of like a bummer to see the Warden be moved like that. Yeah, I don't know, because they still were very good. I saw in a piece by Kelly Dwyer that when they signed Andersen, the Heat were still on pace to win 54 games. And the only difference was, well, once they acquired him, again, like I said before, they went on this 27-game win streak, which was one of the longest streaks in NBA history.
They finished the year 37-3 after signing Chris Andersen.
I mean, so that's
all they had
that's
to
the
do
whole
was.
thing.
I'm not saying they weren't good, but could they have won 4 more games?
No, I don't think so.
All it would have taken.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so, because I don't know that they would have gone on that 27-game win streak.
Yeah, it's a huge butterfly effect type thing. Did you have another sliding doors?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think that's a really good call.
Is he jersey worthy? Is this a cool jersey to own and wear to a Heat game today?
Yes, but yet the name is so kind of innocuous. It's like Andersen
it's not.
with an E.
With an E. That makes all the difference in the world.
Do people even recognize Andersen with an E?
Yes.
I don't know.
If it was Andersen with an O, it could be anybody. If it was Andersen with an E, you know exactly
Andersen,
who it is.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I don't know. Maybe if you had Birdman on there, I don't know.
Yeah. That's a better jersey. To have like actual say Birdman. But then that's also the person that wears that jersey and then gives himself the mohawk and the press on
the sleeves,
face tattoos, and then 100%. No, I think this is, if you could wear this to a Heat game, and I think that's Chris Andersen. That's a fan favorite. I think that's a cool jersey. That's like wearing a Ramones t-shirt to any concert. You could just sort of get away with it. It's kind of punk rock. What?
That's not to a Ramones concert. You don't wear a Ramones shirt to a Ramones concert. Even they.
If you wore a Ramones shirt to a Ramones concert today, that would be very impressive.
Well, I mean, yes, the band is dead, but so.
But wait, are you going yes or no on this then?
Yeah, I think so. The name still seems a little innocuous, but I guess most people would recognize it. I know I would, but I tend to think of like the average Heat fan if they would go, "Oh yeah, Andersen."
I think they would. Yeah.
I don't know.
Who wouldn't know Chris Andersen? We're not talking about like 8-year-olds.
I don't think everybody remembers that team from 2014 as well as we do.
You remember Chris Andersen? He was a fan favorite. He's a legend.
Yeah. What was the name
of
that
I think
video?
It's cool doesn't mean like.
Remember the Harlem Shuffle? Remember him starting off the Harlem Shuffle with him waving his arms like this?
Yeah, 100%.
I'll never forget it. It was burned into my skull.
Looking right into the camera. Yeah, it's creepy. The Eddie Jones test. So Eddie Jones, this is if re-added to the roster in his Heat prime to today's team, would this player make the current roster better? Does Chris Andersen pass the Eddie Jones test?
No, he does not.
Huh.
Not in today's league.
Why not?
Not in today's league. Because I think I know he had some nice pop to him, but I think by the point he was playing for Miami, I think he was somewhat faded in athleticism. I think, I mean, we just had a debate about whether or not Kai Jones was a good fit for him. I think Kai Jones might be more athletic now than 2013 Chris Andersen.
I don't know. He was still getting up there and putting dunks away. He had great hands.
Look, yes, but I mean, he was also, catching lobs from LeBron James and Dwayne Wade.
Genius level passers that the Heat do not have right now. He would not be as impactful, but I think he could play backup center for this team over Vlad Golden and Kai Jones. So I think he barely passes the Eddie Jones test.
But no spacing either, and you kind of need that even from the center position. So
yeah, I think he would be the best option coming off the bench at the 5 spot. So I think he barely passes it, but he passes it.
Squeaks by? Okay.
Yeah, squeaks by. All right, let's play versus. Pin this player against the player who came before him and ask, did we get it right? Chris Andersen versus Max Strus. Did we get it right? So for me, it's a clear yes, because I had Chris Andersen 18, I had Strus 23. You had neither of these players ranked, but I think you just said you had Strus 28 and Andersen 29?
Correct.
So this is a no for you, but barely.
Right. I think Andersen, again, he had some nice moments and came up big in parts of nice title runs in 2013 and 14, but at the same time, overall his minutes were kind of limited. He wasn't really that much of an impact player. Like he was a good backup center on a very, very good team that was led with, by 4 Hall of Famers between 2012 and 2014. So I wasn't looking for Andersen to be productive, but I think Strus was much better in his short stint, although I think neither of them should have been in the top 25 list.
I had him ahead, so I think that we did get it right here. I thought he was impactful. I thought he just shored up a major need. You go from worst in the league to even average, and you could argue Chris Andersen at the point that he joined Miami was one of the best backup centers in the league. And they went through a position of weakness to a position of strength. All of a sudden, they could survive those minutes where Chris Bosh wasn't playing. And I thought that was a huge deal, especially in the playoffs when they were going up against bigger teams in the Eastern Conference. And then the NBA Finals, when you were going up against the Spurs, who were able to toggle between Thiago Splitter and Tim Duncan and Boris Diaw at that 5 spot. I thought Chris Andersen's minutes really did matter on the biggest stage. So it's why I ultimately put him 18 in my ranking. To me, it's almost like a PER conversation. You could have played all the minutes in the world and gotten a bunch of points and whatever. How much were you impacting the game in the minutes that you were out there? And it just always felt like Chris Andersen had a huge impact on that game. Granted, he was playing with future Hall of Famers. They also placed way higher on this list than Chris Andersen, but I think he's on the list.
Is it Alonzo Mourning in 2006 NBA?
A little bit like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. It's fine. I really liked Andersen because I like that he was acquitted. I like that he was able to come back and play when he was clearly not guilty of what he was charged with. And I always love seeing a guy get a second chance. And the Heat has been historically a team that always gives reclamation projects like Andersen an opportunity, and he thrived in as such. And again, he was part of a historic run there. That 27-game win streak, you and I were covering the team at the time. It was ridiculous to watch and to be a part of like that. So it was that was very, very, very exciting. And, it was, I love the moments. I love that he re-signed with the team in 2014, but at the same time, I also recognize he was a limited player who was just part of a very good team.
Chris Andersen comes in at number 24. Max Strus comes in at 25. We've got a theme running here, David, and it's going to carry on to who comes in at number 23, but that's tomorrow. Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen today, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.